Welcome, everybody, back to Ghost Light. This is a podcast where every week I sit down with artists, builders, industry folks to talk about the practical side of creative life, how to survive, adapt, and thrive in the performing arts. And I am joined today by my dear friend, Patrick Earl. Patrick.
Hello,
Welcome.
Benjamin Reed. It's great to see your lovely face. Thank you for having me.
It's great to see yours. Last week, I sat down with your lovely wife, Stephanie Holiday Earl, and had a great conversation. And so it's great to be able to follow it up and get to see you and talk to you.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk shop. So this is great.
You are the executive director of End Station Theater Company, and today is Thursday. And when this airs on Monday, we will have been at your 20th anniversary gala for End Station Theater Company. So tell me a little bit about what you're up to getting ready for the weekend.
Well, lots of stuff. So, we had to procure the talent and some of the folks from the 20 years that are going to speak at the gala, and right now it's just basically logistics. So we load into the venue tonight, all the way from instruments, AV stuff, signs, posters, flags, everything, auction items. So all the stuff that the practical side, the non-fun side of things, is going into the venue tonight, and then we're going to spend all day tomorrow setting up because it is a venue, so they have other things going on. So it's going to be like this 1 day event, and then we're going to load out the next morning. It's kind of a whirlwind every year when we host this gala, but it's one of those things where wining and dining potential donors and big donors is something that you have to do as part of the job as an executive director and an arts administrator that the lay person doesn't often think of when they come to see a show, but it's kind of what makes these shows possible. So tomorrow we are hoping to keep the libations flowing, the good food on the tables, and hopefully we will how shall we say loosen up some pocket strings.
So tell me, how much of your annual budget, what percentage do you collect on gala night and or, around the gala, tied to the gala?
We are hoping for at least a quarter. Yeah,
Wow.
it's super important. If I took like the entire operating budget, and that includes like the cost of the gala, everything from the salary of the administrators, we're cross our fingers, we're hoping to get a quarter. If we get in that ballpark, we're good. But I think I discussed this the last time I was on, but End Station is actually in a great situation where we are an arts affiliate of a college in which we are in residence. So there is this kind of mutual benefit where we are doing our best to raise money. But Randolph College, where we're in residence, are actually paying our day-to-day bills. So we are expected to earn our keep just like any nonprofit, but the bulk of and that this operating budget I'm counting on, I was talking about, is the operating budget that the college actually gives us. So our original 501c3 is operating as if it were kind of like a friends of situation, where we are a fundraising entity outside of the college, where we are raising money for End Station Theater Company, which is operating inside the umbrella of the college. Wow, there's the nuts and bolts of it. Yeah.
How structurally has that changed just the operations of End Station? Because I know you were the executive director before this happened, and then you've overseen the transition. And now, how many years are you into? Is this the completion of year 2?
This is the completion. We're going in. So the end of this fiscal year, June 30th, will be the end of year 2. Out from the outside, no one would know. So it's basically from the inside, really the only person that it's different for is me. and the business office at Randolph College. Hopefully, if the business office at Randolph College, thank you so much. Um, when we made this merger, I don't quite think they knew what they were in for, and thank you for being flexible and understanding as we figure out the workflow and the business.
So, our current president just gave a State of the Union address, which we are not going to get into. My question for you is, if I were to ask you to give an impromptu State of the Union to the board of directors of End Station Theater Company, what are some of the things that you might be bringing to the table?
I would basically say, listen, y'all, we're doing some crazy awesome things. The company, with the stability that this partnership with Randolph College has provided us, we are doing things which, at least I think, is super unique, um, is super beneficial for our community, and different than from what a lot of other theaters our sizes are doing and even able to do. So we have recently expanded from this 2 month summer slot where we began in June, finished by the end of July. We're now in the 2026. We're already past our first event. So we were doing the Playwrights Initiative Reading Festival, where we had three developed scripts. We take submissions or we commission a piece about local storytelling about our community. So we just had three original scripts in a stage reading series in the end of January. Now we're into our gala in February. March, we have a one woman show happening. And then that funnels straight into our getting ready for our summer season, where we're doing a fringe festival again, the Central Virginia Fringe Festival. We have another world premiere of an original work at the end of the Fringe Festival, which is our first summer show. We're doing free Shakespeare outdoors at a park. This will be our third year there. We're hoping to get the whole thing free through grants, through grant writing. Fingers crossed. We're waiting on some of them, and then that goes straight on into uh, the September. So we just have August off. We have a jukebox concert series in September, and then we have something huge going on in October where we're going to make a gala announcement. So keep an eye on End Station socials. There's an addition in October to our season, and then we finish off in December with a we call it homegrown talent, which is a talent competition where people are awarded prizes and money and stuff. But this time we're doing homegrown holidays, where each act has to be holiday themed. So we're jam packed with stuff, and it's community based, and that's not even our educational programming. So I would say that End Station is a hopping young theater, and I say young because we're essentially, we keep on reinventing this thing that's 20 years old. Um, but we are a hopping young theater, doing some great things, and we have artists coming back to work with us again and again. So that says a lot about the kind of culture and community that we're building.
How many full-time employees does End Station have?
You're looking at it. Yep, it's just me. It's just me.
Just you.
So,
Okay.
yep. So we have one full-time employee. That's me. And then our artistic director is part-time. And then we have another part-time person who does a little bit less work. Elena Shuffleton. Shout out, Elena. She helps with marketing. She's our supervisor of operations. And then once we get into the season, she helps with the production and scheduling.
How do you manage your operating budget is in the mid 200s, is that right?
Yep, that's about right. Yep.
So how do you manage a $250,000+ a year organization with one full-time employee?
It is, admittedly, it is very, very difficult. And I could gild the lily on this one, but it's a lift. It's a heavy lift, and from a practical standpoint, you pay a lot of intellectual prices for it, and
How so?
um, it's all encompassing. It's just, it fills your mind every single day, and I'm the type of person that, and I think you know this about me already, Benjamin, but I don't do anything halfway.
Yes, I do know this.
So it's one of those things where it's hard to shut off. And so when especially when all of the bucks stop with me. And you have to choose your battles very carefully. And I fail at this so much, but putting things away. And it's hard to put things, like, I could put the work away, but it's hard to tear my mind away from it. So it's a constant. I'm like, yes, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of, just a view, just a glimpse into the looking glass. Like, I have little pockets of folk that help me. It's almost like editing, but I write all the grants. I essentially do all of the finances. Um, I try not to, but just for practicality's sake, I stay out of the artistic decisions, but we need a sounding board because there's so few of us. So, like, I also have a hand in, like, picking seasons, and I share in the hiring process. I'm doing the contracts. Um, and every event is it's me. I'm planning all of them. Once the summer gets here, we have a whole team of folk coming in, some awesome young artists that help with the nuts and bolts of it. But on the ground level, it's hard. It's a hard thing.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it becomes a matter of focus, right? Because you can only put your focus in one place at a time, and when so much hinges on you as the uh, chief everything officer of End Station Theater Company, then you're kind of constantly changing your hat, and that keeps you from deep diving on any one area that might help the organization take that big next step to
Yeah.
whatever that might look like.
No, I mean, it's everything from managing social, sending mass emails to, it's if I could give advice to young artists, is that sometimes just good enough is okay. And that's, like, I hate to say, like, you want your work to be polished, but I just for your own just for your own mental health, you have to pick and choose the most important things that you're gonna put a fine polish on. Like, for the artistic shows itself, that's the most important thing. But there has to you can't beat yourself up over, like, "Oh, I should have sent that one email," or maybe that one email blast could have gone out a little earlier. Like, I'll next time I'm gonna hunker down, I'm gonna send more. And I'm like, you have to ask yourself, can you do that? Like, is
Mhm.
that what you want to be spending your time on? And like you said, like, I'm still it is all about patience, and it's all about focus, because there are certain things even now, and I've been at this job. This will be my fourth season, going into it. Or is it third? No, this will be my fourth season. Uh, and there are still things that I want to get done that just keep good, just like tasks that just keep getting pushed far down the list. Like, for instance, creating a workflow document for the box office employees, saying, "This is how I train you. This is how I do this. This is how I do that." But, when these young, hungry artists show up on day one, and I have all these balls in the air, it's all I can do to, like, teach them the operating system that sells the tickets. So, like,
Mhm.
it's one of those things where, if you are, even if you're a three-person show, not just a one-man show, but a three-person show, there are certain staples that you need to have to make even your point of sale stuff work well, your customer service flawless. But you have to have the time, and you have to have the institutional memory to be able to start putting these things into place. And when you have all these balls in the air, you have to pick and choose. Okay, do I want the show to happen, or I want this to happen, or, do I want a one sheet for the box office folk? And that's just one example. Um, but it's like I said, it's a heavy lift, and on my worst days, I'm like, gosh, is it all worth it? And on my best days, I'm thinking, I'm single-handedly keeping the theater alive in my sarcastices, like but quotes. But but that's kind of that's kind of like on a good day, you feel like you're making a difference, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
that's the entrepreneurial experience, right? Where some days you feel like you're on top of the world and crushing it, and everything's going right, and then other days
mhm.
you're in the valley, and it's, how am I ever going to make it out of this deep dark hole?
Yeah, exactly. And but and this is why I think it's important to do the theater and do the work, because especially like our new works program, the Playwrights Initiative, where we are telling stories about and for our community. Um, I think that's important, and I think writing those grants to keep theater accessible to everyone, is equally important. And I think it's also important to remember that, you know, 90% of theater doesn't happen in New York or all of these or Chicago or all of these big venues. They happen on the community level. I'm lucky enough to be able to run a professional institution where I'm able to pay my all of my employees. Um, but you know, sometimes people knock around community theater like, "Oh, it's just community theater." I'm like, "Just community theater." I'm like, that is most of the theater in the United States, and that is a lot of people's first experiences, and that's what gets them hooked. So with these little pockets of theater and these little professional community theaters and little professional theaters like End Station, that I think are even more important, because it's almost like we are the front we're the front lines of theater for you know, young people who are trying to either get into the business or learn about some sort of theater craft. Where are they going to go? You know, I just had a conversation the other day with, well, now a former employee. We made an offer for this person this summer. We loved working with them, and he had to turn down the contract. And we had this conversation, and you know, it got weirdly emotional for the both of us, because he was thanking me for you know, and Stephanie for, you know, having making this theater and making showing him that, um, what a theater community can be, and what it's like working with people you want to work with, because his current job was the opposite of that. Like they weren't taking care of him very well. Um, and I told him like, listen, I know what End Station is, right? And if we are the theater that people can go to and learn and get better, be the stepping stone for larger theaters, that's I'm not saying that's enough, but it's kind of enough for me, right? If folks are enjoying their time here, we are making good art. I understand that super talented people are gonna they're gonna work here, and we're lucky to get them on the rise, and to see them succeed is I think a testament to all the theaters before them that set them up for success. And you know, I think End Station can is one of those theaters that can do that.
Yeah, well, it's essential because it's at the community level. That's how you get to the New York or West End or Hollywood level, right? Those people don't come from nowhere. They are trained. They prove themselves and learn lessons on a smaller stage, and then work their way up and get more training, and then that's sort of the pipeline. And even what you mentioned earlier in that that's where the audience gets started. Um, I would imagine, uh, this is conjecture, but I would imagine most people don't first go and have a Broadway experience. First they probably go to a local, either a local theater or an educational program, their college or their high
Mhm.
school, and they experience it for the first touch point there. So I think that having a community oriented theater becomes really vital to keep the pulse alive.
Absolutely. And that's that is kind of like our mission, is to serve this community, serve our audience. And I always say to tell your story. I know it's kind of cheesy, but like it's not just like we create theater about the community, but it's also, if you orient your mindset about, okay, our purpose is to make is to, even if it's a Shakespeare, it's not exactly written, like, okay, we're placing it within a communal space within Lynchburg, Virginia, where we're located, like, and it's all themed toward that. We are reinventing classics in the style of a story that might be told in Lynchburg. So if I think it's important for everyone to hear and to recognize themselves in a story. I think when we're talking about, I'm going to say some hot words right now, everybody: diversity, equity, and inclusion. Right? I think that in and of itself, that's one of the most important things. Seeing yourself, seeing your personage, seeing your color of your skin, your beliefs in a highlighted, raised up and highlighted, and that story being told, right? That's what I think is super 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 important. Um, and not only does N Station try to increase its diversity on stage, because that's always a problem, especially in rural Virginia, but I also highlighting the stories of the folks, or the folks around our community that might not be able to tell their story in such a large manner. Um, I think that's something we do well, and we focus on.
Tell me something that has been piquing my curiosity is if you do you track your time on a weekly basis?
We've had this discussion before, Benjamin Reed.
Have we
I,
really?
yeah, we have. I decided I was going to, Benjamin, and then
Hmm.
I never did. I promise.
When
You told me to.
when
You told me to, and then I
that's
never did.
that's what I was going to say. When you say we've had this conversation, you mean I
Yeah.
said you need to be tracking your time?
I'm like, that's a great idea, and then I never did.
Because,
Um,
and I asked this, Patrick, because your only job isn't executive director of End Station Theater Company, right?
yeah. Nope. No.
Where else are you employed?
I Well, technically, now that we're part of Randolph, I'm entirely employed at Randolph College.
By
So
Randolph. Yeah.
I also teach classes at Randolph College. So I teach voice and diction, movement for the stage, theater history, beginning acting. Sometimes I'll teach intro to theater. Um, but the majority of my time outside of that is dad.
Hmm.
Like, then that's the thing. I think that I don't think it suffers. I hope it doesn't suffer. But it's one of the loads I have to bear. Is I'm like, I have this wonderful arts organization that I have the privilege of taking care of. Um, but I have something to me that is more important that I need to take care of, which are my children. Um, and managing that with two full-time working parents, um, is a deal. Is a deal. And then where in all of that do we fit in? The two parents. So, um, I would say those are my three full-time jobs. Is dad, teacher, and executive director.
Even though you don't have the actual figures, tisk tisk. But tell me about, I mean, what percentage of your work week? So let's leave family aside because I know you're a
Okay.
great father. But do you think are you give us an idea? Are you working 40 hours a week? Are you working 60 hours a week? And then what's the ratio? How much are you spending on, prepping for classes versus running the company versus even maybe just kind of stuff that maybe you would consider not executive director work, but there's nobody else to get it done.
Yeah. Benjamin, I have no way. I literally have no way of knowing. I would
No way.
say I have no
What's your
way.
gut say? It
I
just
would
changes
say
week to week.
it changes week to week. I would say I average probably non-summer hours. I'd average probably between 35 and 40. And then when, like, for instance, the week of the Fringe Festival, it was like 12-hour days every day. So like, yeah, so what's 7 times 12? 8 times 12. What's 8 times 12? I don't remember. Hold on, 48, 92,
8 times 12?
96.
96, that's right.
Yeah, 96. So I worked 96 hours that week. And then everything, I mean, the summer is just a heavy pull. So, and then like, let's say, oh my gosh, there's a big grant and a gala happening, right? And then like I hope it all averages out.
Mhm.
And I think it does. But like, I would say I'm constantly writing emails. So like it's also like I am dadding and writing emails and driving kids to swim practice and then getting there and writing an email. So like it's for me, it's like I don't I would love to sit there with a I would need a stopwatch around my neck. Like I'm like, maybe I'll follow 1 week and just wear a stopwatch the whole time because it literally is pick up, put down, pick up, put down, pick up, put down for an entire day.
So
And
you have
and
email
that's
on your phone?
sure do. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too still, although I have taken this step forward where I've taken off. I manage more than one email inbox, which I imagine you do as well.
I have
So I took,
5. I have 5.
yeah, I
Yeah.
had about 5, and I took 3 of 5 off my phone, and decided I was only going to manage these other 2. And even then, I'm trying to, like, I took away the little red badge icon, the thing that tells you how many messages you have in your inbox.
Oh, that's awesome. I don't know
I
how to
was
do
like,
that.
I'm
I'm gonna
not.
do that.
Yeah, I took that off, and I disabled basically every kind of ping, anything that can notify me of anything. I've taken that away, and I it's been really helpful. I need to take, I think, even more steps in that direction. Um, just because I found myself doing the same thing you were talking about, which is constantly managing both things.
Mhm.
And and I found that from an efficiency standpoint, I'm actually way better when I'm not going back and forth.
Yep.
But when I pick a lane and
Yes.
focus, and then I mean, you can switch, but the constant load of attention changing, uh, I'm trying to cut back on.
No, I mean, I'm like, I'll whip myself up into a frenzy about it, and that
Mhm.
happens, I think hopefully I keep all the balls in the air fairly well. That unfortunately, the nonprofit world especially in like a small theater, there's a lot of favors you have to ask for. And especially now that we are merged with college, where, for instance, like the business aspect, hiring people where now we're getting like college folk involved. We are it's hard to, let's say, it used to be where I would have to basically like, oh, we need to pay this person accountant, make a check. Great. Here's your money. But just by necessity, the bureaucracy, the keeping track of money, it has to be different now that you're part of a bureaucracy. And one that's good and they're doing their best, right? But they have tons of other things to do, right? And this is not just this is higher education. This is a problem not just with us, but it's hard for me to do that because if you have grabbed someone's attention, right? You have to respond immediately or they will or their attention will go somewhere else. So if you need something from someone, whether it is a favor from a community member, whether it is oh hey, you did this awesome favor by creating this graphic for us, or oh, I needed that person's paid, that's person from the business office who's working super hard at doing something else, taking their time out of their day to help me when I was way down the list, I have to respond to that person. Now, and this gets back to our original conversation where things and responsibilities are coming so quickly and so fast that there are workflow issues that I would have loved to have taken care of like 2.5 years ago, but it gets pushed down the line. So until we are able to, and like I said, we're a new and young company, until we're able to find those more efficient workflows, Patrick's notifications are going to have to stay off. But you're right. You're right. It's this thing. This thing here is just we are, as a society, just we're enslaved to it.
Insanely
It's
distracted.
and it's just so funny because like I sensed that before I had this job. Like, I was literally about ready to get off social media, go get my flip phone, because I'm like, I don't need this in my life, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am in charge of a company now that literally thrives and depends on social media and being connected to the digital world. So it's like it's hard. It's a hard thing to do, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll disconnect my work email from my phone. Maybe that's my first step, Benjamin.
Give it a
Let's do
shot.
it.
Oh, so
I'm gonna
speaking
do it.
of first steps or next steps, tell me about what are you currently working on? What are you trying to solve for? What's currently just out of grasp that you're trying to reach?
As far as theater is concerned,
Yeah, I don't
goodness.
know, or just in life, but in your professional world, what's sort of the
I
next challenge?
I want to. I'll take this in two parts. Number one, I want to I want to level off End Station. I think we've grown enough. We've grown as much as we can with the means that we have, and now I think that we've established enough traditions that we can grow those traditions as far as bringing people in to enjoy them. Like ticket sales, need to grow. Ticket sales need to grow everywhere. It's not just End Station. Um, and so I think once we have that that kind of like sweet spot and formula for the season, I think I would just like to increase efficiency and workflow. Like dig down deep and find that workflow that works for everyone and what everyone needs on each level. Um, I would also like to hire other full-time people, which that's a whole conversation that we'd have to have with the college. But that is and like I said, now we are at the point where this amazing institution, an institution that above all odds is one of the smallest colleges, but is one that's growing the fastest. Like so, Randolph College, any one of those college seekers, it's like kind of like our missions coalesced in this wonderful way where they get that it's not just about producing students. It's about feeding culture. It's about getting out into the community and forming relationships. Um, so I think we are in the right place to make the the art that we have the best that it can be, but I don't think we need to grow anymore. I just think we can make what we do better. That's what I want to do artistically. As far as personally, I want to actually do more art. Yes, I said it. It's hard. It's hard being an artist. Um, and I and when I say it's hard, I mean I gladly do this. I gladly do this so other art that my job, so other amazing artists have the opportunity to do it. But there's just this little itch inside me, and if there's an artist administrator that ever says, "No, no, it's fine. I'm fine where I am," they're lying to you. They're lying. I've always been
Yeah.
an artist at heart, and like I got to play a concert the other day, guitar, singing, that sort of thing, and I was like, "Ah, wow, that was awesome. I should do more of that," because I think it informs and makes me do a better job as an executive director um, when I am attached to the artistic side in myself. It makes me more thankful for the work that I do, and it makes me more informed because especially if I'm doing a lot of teaching, like acting. I have to, dust off the old acting chops. Or I don't feel like I have the capacity to teach in a way if I'm not doing it, teach in a good enough way if I'm not doing it myself. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely something to be said for being in the field and doing alongside your students. That definitely is useful, and I think useful both as a teacher and also from the student perspective as well. So I've two follow up questions for you, and I'll move backwards. So we'll start with the first one, which is when you say artist, help me understand what you mean. What is an artist?
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, Benjamin, you're going to have to make me go back to my intro to theater days. What
Well,
is an
no, I don't.
artist?
I
Now,
mean,
here's the thing.
I mean,
Hold on. What? Now you're going to have to make me define what art is. What is art? Let me ask you a question, Benjamin.
okay,
Knowing that I have an answer in my head, can you define art for me?
yes,
Okay, define it.
art is when we bring our humanity and creativity to raw materials and elevate them into a new form with intention is art.
I would if you were taking that test, I'd give that to you. Yeah, yeah. So there's a tech book, like it was called, like I forgot what the textbook is called, but it's a wonderful textbook about intro to theater. But their definition is something that was made that wasn't there before and not by nature,
Hmm.
that shines a light on the aspect of the human condition.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's probably written a little better, but it's something not made by nature
Yes.
that was not there before. So it takes away from like the plagiarizing, uh, that shines a light on the human condition. In taking that definition, I would say an artist is a person who is taking some aspect of human life, whether it's even like this coffee mug, right? Drawing a picture of this
Hmm.
coffee mug to a full-fledged play where they're talking about the degradation that capitalism has on society, that's something big like that, right? To something small
Hmm.
like my chipped up coffee mug, right? Anyone doing something, creating something that is commenting on the aspect of the human condition, I would call an artist.
Cool. I
Wow,
like
that
that.
was so cerebral. That was it's so anesthetic, but I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is.
So here, I'll give you a new perspective on art and artists that's been developing for me I would say this year. So I come from a Judeo-Christian background,
Oh, do you know?
and I do, yeah. And so I grew up in the church and learning about religion and all that. And one thing you'll hear a lot in the Christian church is about worship, right? Worshiping God, and a lot of the times I would say that worship is equated to singing songs in church that are uplifting the name of that God, right? That's kind of I think that's generally what we think of when we hear that word as a society. But as I've dwelt on that being an artist myself, I've changed my interpretation of that, and I think of the creation of art as like that is almost to me the most true expression of the word worship, right? And now we have to for our purposes, take away religion, right? It doesn't even matter about which religion or which God you serve, but that there's something about the artist creating that is like this dance with
Mhm.
nature and with existence and with the world, and it's from 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 this nothing, there is something. And that to me is like, and I think that's why I find it important, because like you said, not doing that can drain you. And so I feel like everyone needs to find the thing that connects them to that. I'm I'm taking these raw elements, and from them I'm bringing my unique perspective and ability, whether that's um, someone who is extremely refined in their craft or not, or a beginner. But it's in the doing, it's in the creation, that there is this uplift of the human soul.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's
I
that
also
for
think that
cerebral?
is no, that wasn't. That was
Spiritual.
spiritual. That was like the opposite of what I said. But I'm gonna tag on to what you just said, because I do
Wait, how
agree.
is it the
And I'm gonna
opposite? Tell me what I want to
because
hear
no,
why it's the opposite.
I felt like mine was like, oh, let me explain a little bit of definition, and yours was like, bro, like let me talk to you about what's actually here and my feelings. And I was like, meaning you said the same thing. You just
Mhm.
said it in a way that, in my opinion, was more palatable than, oh gosh, shines a light on the human existence, like that sort of thing. But I do think you're right. I do think you're right. And here's why. I also came from a Judeo-Christian background. Um,
Mhm.
I consider myself, how should we say, more secular today. Um, and uh, and there has been a few movements within theater. One, for instance, is existentialists or existentialism. I wouldn't go back and watch any of their stuff. It's very frightening. It's like very frightening and gory, and it's a little scary, very bleak, very
Okay.
bleak.
Okay.
So I wouldn't consider myself a traditional existentialist. But one of the things that I liked about them is they truly believed that there was nothing. And I'm not even sure I believe that, but like that there was nothing. This is it, guys. Existence. This is it. This is all there
Mhm.
is. And the movement through that belief was that if we're going to make anything better, if we're going to make this world, this bleak, terrible world that we live in, I mean, it's some really scary stuff. This bleak world that we live in, the only way to make it better is to do it ourselves, and to embrace another person and embrace other classes and I find that there is this melancholic beauty to that, and this truth that um that it can even coincide with religion. Like, even if you believe that there is a savior or a god, or god's looking down on you, that's helping us through this crazy chaos of a world, we are in this together, right? And if we are all actively thinking of each other, I feel like that's the only way to make sense of it. It's the only way through it all. And to your point about putting that into theater and putting the religion aside, I mean, going back to politics, like you said, with the last State of the Union, there's just so much demagoguery, and there's so much hate being spewed, and it's a scary world out there right now. But I have run for political office. I have had numerous political debates with too many people online.
Mhm.
And it is my true belief that for the vast majority of people, you sitting down and having a discussion with them is probably not going to change what they think. But whether it's through any kind of art, especially theater, if you can get them into a room where they can experience a life or an emotion or an aspect of existence, like shining that light on that piece of existence
Mhm.
that they might be able to empathize with, that's what can make the difference. Because if that piece of empathy doesn't exactly fit into their worldview, it's going to make them question that worldview, right? And I walk around questioning my views on everything all the time, so I know that feeling. Um, but I think that's why art is so important, is that it challenges folks' worldview. And if you can couple that with putting into your art the need and the yearning to rely on, the rest of the human race, like the well-being of the human race is important to you, and you can push that through your art and through your beliefs. I think that's the best way to change folks' mind. If they not necessarily don't agree with you, but I think that is what will, turn folks away from this like selfish isolationism that everyone on every side is going through right now. Like just kind of like they're circling their own wagons into their own belief systems. I think that's the only way to break through to people. Empathize.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think you can't change people's minds, but people can change their own mind.
Hmm.
And so then the other thing that you got me thinking about was because I also am an artist who doesn't spend a whole lot of time making art these days, as I've been running businesses and raising kids just like you. So there's not a whole lot of time to do it, and especially when you're in an art form that requires a whole bunch of people and a physical space, and then the selling of the said creation to another group of people in order for the whole thing to even, you know, make any sense financially. It's an uphill battle to make the art that we make. But I do still have that desire within me, and I think I struggle sometimes with connecting with purpose and meaning. Why am I doing all these things that I'm doing? What's the end game? And this little 3-word phrase has been coming back to me, which is make something good.
Hmm.
Just make something good. And if you've made something, it can be followed up with this, which is make it better. So like, and 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 I was thinking about that from a day-to-day perspective, and reflecting on, okay, you know, 24 hours just passed. I was asleep for 6 to 8 of those. Did I make something good? You know, or
Hmm.
did I or did I take something that I made, and did I refine it? Did I go back and okay, but what if it looked a little bit like that? Um, and I think the reason that it came up for me in response to what you were saying is taking that thing and sharing it with people and saying like, I made this, I feel like it's good, what do you think? um and then collaborating with them on the refinement process, because you might have thought what you made was pretty good, but then you bring it to the people and they're like, yeah, not so interested, or
That's so
I
good.
don't like that," or even
Been there.
worse, that's bad. What you made is bad. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, imagine that's such a hard thing, especially I think as an artist who, uh, well, I say this as if it's unique to actors, but I think it probably feels exactly the same way for visual artists or musicians, right? Like the thing they made is a part of themselves, and so when people look at it and go, "That's no good," or "It's okay," it's as if they're looking you dead in the eyes and saying, You're not very good.
Like,
You're bad."
can you imagine writing a novel, Benjamin? Like a full novel. Just all of that time. And then all the editors, every editor you put him like put in front put the book in front of him was just like, nah, bro. Nah, bro. I don't like it. No. I'm like that's gotta be that's gotta be just soul crushing. Like at least as actors, we like have an audition and it's immediate, like you know, we don't like it. Or we have like
Right.
a little bit of a rehearsal process and a run of a show, but like spending all of that time in a room alone, or like you said, visual art where you're like painting and refining it and all that stuff just to tell a person, no, 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 that's not good. That's heartbreaking. Although I will say on the flip side, you can make your best piece of art Benjamin. Your best your best acting role, your best work that you will ever do, and then it won't exist after you're done. It will only exist in your mind and the minds of whoever was lucky enough to see it. So I guess there is a trade-off.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like that so much.
I don't
I would
I
like
know that
to
I knew that about you.
I would like to explore ways where we can leverage and capture those things so that they continue to exist. But you're right. Even then, it will never be the same. The which is the thing that makes theater unique. In that, it's almost as if a painter. You get to watch the painter paint the entire painting, and then they set the whole thing on fire, never to be seen again.
Yeah.
And so the
And
experience was the artwork.
it's like you said, I'm like, you can, if you were a part of the show and you watch the show, you can, like, for instance, if like you said, it was videotaped, there is this certain, like, oh, I can go back now and remember, like, kind of my acting choices or how I was feeling, or, oh, remember that one show where the person did this thing. But if you're just an audience member watching it from the outside, you're right. There's just something missing that you just miss when you're not watching it live. And I think it's I think it's the only thing I can explain is there's this certain amount of voyeurism that you can feel comfortable with being behind the screen, right? But, like, it's different, like, if in an emotional moment where you watch a piece of violence on stage, or you watch someone just completely fall to pieces emotionally, there is a certain part of you that you can't turn off. Like, there's a certain part of you where, like, I know this is pretend, but I'm watching an actual person do this, so, like, I'm affected. Like, and I think that goes back to, y'all, we're all here together, right? It's a natural response when someone just falls to pieces to be affected, even when you know that it's false. And with that screen between you, it kind of like gives you permission not to have that connection.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Live theater, y'all, it's the best. Or performance
Live
art,
theater.
yeah, dance,
Yeah, or
opera.
we had a concert on Tuesday night at the Green Room, the Honeydew Drops. If you haven't checked them out, you absolutely should. And, it was being in the room while these people who wrote these incredible songs, and they're a couple, so they sing and play
Oh,
together, and they're extraordinarily talented. And you're just, you're experiencing them do their thing, and it was so good. And to me, that's a little, it's like, oh, there's a little piece of God. Like,
yeah,
oh, that I forgot that, you know, it's all it's all around me all the time. I forgot that, that the divine is dancing in, right outside the door in nature, uh, constantly, and that I can be with it whenever I want. But I do feel like when I see a great artist, or actually, it doesn't even have to be great art. I mean, when I see in someone who is passionate about the thing that they're making, and enjoying that process, and when I get to be there and experiencing it, it's like a little nudge. It's like, hey, that's there's some good right there. Pretty good that I got to experience it.
yeah, yeah. And for me, it's like, that's why we're here, y'all, right there. That's it. That's the connection.
Connection.
That's the
Yeah.
connection. And it's sad because, people are, going to their phones, and, they're on social media, or they're making
Mm.
podcasts like we are right now. This was about to get super meta, but I'm glad that we're talking about this, because, like, they go into their phones in search of this connection, like this hole that they need to fill. And like you said, it's those moments like watching the honeydew drops where you're like, oh, this is it, right? That's it. Or you hear some sort of refrain to a song or lyric to a song, and like it just drops in. I'm like, oh, that's it. That's why we're here. That's the connection. And that's why I'm like, people are so, and myself included, we're just kind of scrambling in this piece of chaos that we call 2026, right? And The answer is go to a communal space and watch something live and just exist. Just exist. Don't try to worry about anything. Sit next to someone you don't know or someone that you love, or take someone you love with you. It's experiencing things together is, in my opinion, just one of the most important things that we can do right now. And everyone felt that after COVID. Everyone felt it. And we're like, "Oh my god, we have been s we need to get out. We
Yeah.
need to get out," you know? It's just
But
that I
then,
feel like s
but, but then it feels like we did that. And then we kind of went back to our homes and went
yeah,
back to online life. Right.
I know. I can't I don't know the reason. I don't know the reason why. Uh, Maybe it was because they found those rhythms in their life that like, "Oh, that's kind of nice. That's kinda nice coping mechanism."
Yeah.
But I also think I don't think the onslaught stopped, and I don't know what it is outside the United States, but, like, I don't now we're getting political, but I don't to me, at least, deep down on my inside, like, I know the pandemic is over. Well, it's not over, it's we still have COVID, but, like, there is this certain uncertainty
Hmm.
that just is sticking with us, and I think that has something to do with it, and I also think it has to do with the economy as well, because live theater and stuff is cost prohibitive, but,
It is. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know how to solve
Yeah. But
this.
I
This
do.
is the thing I don't know how to
Well,
solve.
so this does kind of take us back to some nuts and bolts. And I think I was going to ask you earlier in our conversation how much time you spend as the executive director thinking about UX design, user experience. What is it like to be a patron of End Station Theater? What does it feel like? And I think about this a lot in our businesses, and I was curious to hear how much or how little time you have to think about it, but not just in terms of what is the experience of the show, but literally what is the experience of the experience? What's it
Mhm.
like walking through the door? What's it like talking to the box office? What's it like engaging with the concession stand? What's it like getting the program? What's the program like? How does that start um,
Yeah, all the time, all the time, and there are things that, like like I had said before, I can think of, like, 3 or 4 things that I'm like, "I wish we could just do this right now, but we don't have the bandwidth for it." Like, even infrastructure-wise, like, what does it still look like that we don't have a sign up? Like, what does it look like that the location of our home-based theater is very difficult to find, right? And there's no changing that. That is something we have to deal with, but, I can send emails with maps, circle in location, here's where you park, but that's still a hassle for I mean, that's what keeps executive directors up at night. There's a certain things that and then there are also the things you didn't know, like, all the way from we're getting a brass tacks here, but we are in a new ticketing system. They're wonderful, Ludus, check them out. Ludus, I will accept check for advertisement, but, like, we just found that through a certain browser, if you embed their code file into your website, so everything's seamless, which no rerouting to a different site. When certain browsers, what'll happen is that'll completely negate your site, and so they'll have to click it, and it'll take them to this page on the Ludus site that wasn't exactly doesn't really look good, right? So I'm like, "That's not Ludus's fault. That's not our fault. That's Safari's fault. That's Chrome's fault." And I'm like, "There's
mm,
no way to solve either of those problems from either us or Ludus." So, like, that's just one example of how are we gonna one example of, like, things that keep an executive director up at night. But to your question, all of the time.
yeah,
User
yeah,
experience is just all of the time. And not to mention, like, how to or getting people to know who we are.
like, hi, we're over here. I can only wave my hand so hard. I can only send out so many email blasts. What do I need to do to get End Station's name out there to people above, the din of it all?
Right. Yeah. And as we explore what that's like in this new landscape, I do think the crafting of that experience becomes maybe the most important thing that theaters could focus on. But Patrick, thank you so much for joining me. I'm glad we got into some philosophy. Congratulations on 20 years of End Station. And
Woot woot.
always a
And
pleasure
check
to
it.
chat with
End
you.
Station Theater, endstationtheater.org. Everyone, check it out. Doing some good stuff.
Yep. And they do have online offerings from time to time. So even if you are not a Lynchburg native, you can participate and get to know them. And yeah, there are hopefully even more to come.
Yes, absolutely. Take care, y'all.
All right, Patrick. Thank you so much. Bye.